Good afternoon. When I was told I was giving this afternoon prayer, I thought, it figures. All other cowards, they all ran away. Faster than a Penn Hills running back at the end. Really, who else could they trust to do this? Our receivers, they would have dropped the ball. Our running backs would have fumbled it. And our loving quarterback, Corey, would have thrown an interception. Who better than one? But seriously, I'm honored to stand here and give thanks for this meeting. And to all the people who've helped us this season, I give thanks. And please join me in bowing your heads. Dear Lord, we give thanks for our parents, not just for the years of helpful service and taking care of us, taking us to practice, and dealing with our aches and pains through the wins and consoling us in our losses. I'd like to give a special thanks for our coaches and friends who've not just helped us become better football players, but that have helped us become better young men. We give thanks to all the people who have given of themselves so selflessly to make us what we are today. For all this, we are truly thankful. We will go forward today being truly thankful for the friends and the bonds that this team has allowed us to make. Bless us, O Lord, in these thy gifts which we're about to receive through thy bounty, through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Let's start, everyone's favorite. We'll start with Coach Rick Pavlisco. Coach Pav was inducted into the Tri-County Hall of Fame over the summer. Not many people know that. I'm going to go Rick Pav. He's going to come out of Rick Pav and envelopes. Pat Falsetti. Pat is in the honor and distinction of being with me since middle school, so I'm sure he loves that. We've been together a long time. Brian Vautier. Brian's been with me all 4 years. He's also my college liaison. We've had just this spring, we had 52 college visits for kids, college coaches to come in and recruit the kids. I think in the winter we had another 40. But he's usually there right with me. Sometimes we have 3 or 4 coming at a time, so he keeps them like in the holding cell until I'm ready for the next one. And you guys want to sit here and let Pat do all the work? You guys want to get up?
No, we're going to go.
Pat, hang out over there. Another guy that's been with me 4 years, JJ Knapp. JJ does a great job with our offensive line, and he's one of the kids' favorites because he's a wrestling coach, football coach. He's in the community. He does a lot of good stuff. Another 4-year guy, Fred Bierman. I'm sure you would. That's why you're a voice of reason sometimes. I try to deal with these guys all the time. Sometimes Fred has to step in. 2 new guys, Chris Betts. Chris does an excellent job for us. One thing people don't know about Chris is he actually competes and wins those strongman competitions. He, throwing kegs or whatever, I don't know what he does. Our other new coach, Ryan Tempowski. Ryan is, he's like our little brother, and all the coaches yell at him, and pick on him, and throw stuff at him, and then Pat starts yelling at him. It really gets bad. So I hope you enjoyed that, Ryan. Another veteran to our staff who we moved up this year to the varsity, Scott Opperman. Scott does an excellent job, but he's very sort of technical. Is that the word? He's a technician, I think. He does all the camera stuff and the video stuff that I'm very good at. And Brian Barber, who couldn't make it today. And one of our middle school coaches is here who develops with the statistics every Friday night and does a lot for the program, Bill Barker. before we get to the senior stuff, guys, I'm gonna announce you in by class. You're gonna come up and get an envelope with whatever's a certificate, pin, whatever you guys got. That's what you're gonna get, okay? I'm gonna go right down the list. It may be easier to hold applause, but that's up to you. I'm gonna start with 9th graders. Nick Baum. Jake Cortez. Michael Corey. Noah Hardy. Logan Janosco. Michael Lozero. Alan Lieberman. Johnny Morsasoto. Nick Morandi. Brandon Charco. Nick Phelps. Clayton Scott. Cameron Scott. Angelo Porcher. Chaz Westover. I'll get him, don't worry. That's best for last, because this is a sophomore for some reason. Andre Williams. RJ Williams. And Brian Beller is listed as a 10th grader. Is that all the freshmen, since the seniors caught that one? Freshmen, again, a round of applause for you, because I appreciate it. Sophomore class, Cole Amos, Drew Vaughn, Thomas Brodowski, Michael Burkett, Albert Calfo, Zach Vasily, Adam Crane, Joe Gerard, Nathan Heinsohn, TJ Mann, nice shirt, Reagan Lawler, Jeremiah Ranieri, Andrew Shuck, Thor Sainer, Joel Shaw, Blake Smith, Alan Snyder, Logan Stahl, Jonathan Walsh, Gordon Winslow, and Glenn Woods. Our junior class, Jacob Bain, Jonathan Despinis, Colin Kovacs, James Sean Langles, Ross Madler, Connor Manning, Michael McAlevey, Brandon Dahl, James Newton, Alex Monday, James Roselater, Roden Paul, Jake Reardon, Nick Schaefer, Rob Webster, Michael White, and Henry Yates. Congratulations, underclassmen. I'm not going to make you stand for the next 2 hours when I talk about seniors. So when you're done, you guys can have a seat. You know, now, as you guys take your seats, now we get to my favorite and saddest part of the banquet, and that's honoring our seniors. This is, I'm sure the parents already know, and hopefully the administrators know as well. This is truly a good group of nice young men. It's one thing, it's the first thing I can say about our 13 seniors. I'm going to miss all of them, and I think they know that. We've had a lot of conversations about, the future and what they've done for the program. It's funny. I was at the Pine Richland JV game, and I was standing, I think I was talking to Steve on the sidelines over by the fence. And Christian and Nikki Phelps' little sister, I call Little as Phelps, she came up to me and said, "Coach, I have a question for you. Are you going to miss the seniors?" It just, right then and there, it hit me. Even though there's a JV game going on, these guys were done. I was thinking, so, the season's going on, I'm watching the game. And then, when she asked me that, it hit me, it was over for my seniors. That's always a sad time, of the year, And that's when, you realize how much you're going to miss, the leaders we have up here, the characters we have up here, which we have a few. The emotions these guys had all year, which was a lot. The players I've had for 4 years, the players we've had for 1 year, as well as the 13 different personalities that make up this group. And believe me, there is 13 different personalities up there. And again, it's a great group. One story, we got a lot of stories. We were going to play Bethel Park. And it's funny, you guys were talking a lot, if you remember this, and it was before the Bethel Park game, I think during the week, and you were supposed to meet, I think Mrs. Anderson, Mrs. Kirsten do a senior picture. And, I came in and said, okay, at 6:10, we're going out. This might have been game day. We're going out, 6:10, picture. Okay, cool. That's what they gave me. That's cool. We got it. Ethan busted in. He says, wow, when I said it, everyone said, no way, we're not meeting anyone, we're not going out. I just thought it was funny that, they said it's cool, they were going to go out and do it. They just, I don't think they believed Ethan or not, I don't know. Just, there's stories that go on in the locker room that, no one ever gets to see. You appreciate when you're involved in it. What I do a lot, the coaches will tell you. And some of them even joined in. When I see something go on, I'll run back to my office and take a note. I'll text myself or I'll call my school phone and leave a message. Like I was doing yesterday. I think I was with Coach Malsay. I left myself a message for next year already. One of the seniors had said something the other day. I left myself a message. And that's how we accumulate these stories. That's how they come to play. That's what you guys mean to me. I think about you guys a lot, and your funny stories and things not everyone gets to see. But I'm lucky I get to see them. Again, the seniors, all my players, all the seniors, you're my guys. I tell you guys all the time. Steve talked briefly. If you need a reference for college, I don't care if it's football or otherwise. You got it. For a job reference in the future, a job reference now, you got it. And I hope you guys know this. Something happens and you need me, you got me. That's something that comes a long way with our 80-man family. You come through the program, you have 70 brothers, and I hope you guys realize that, and 10 coaches that care about you. And that goes a long way. It goes a long way now, and it'll go a long way in life, and you won't forget it. We always tell our seniors, you'll remember your last game, you'll remember your last game. Well, not just coaches, 20, 30, and whatever years later, we still talk about high school football. So I hope you guys know that, and you guys know, you got me whenever you need me. That lasts a long time, so don't forget that. We got a lot of emotional seniors here, and mothers, Lisa, and others. After the final home game and after the Pine Richland game, it's understandable. You pour yourself into this for a full year or 4 years or whatever it is, and then it hits you all of a sudden that it's over. College life and college football or just regular college life is a whole different story, a different set of friends and guys you won't see or talk to or be around as much. And that is a sad event. It showed me how much they cared about each other. And I know, Tim Crane, he was crying last game, and, Tim Swoop, and, a lot of those guys. It's sad to see. You're happy, but you're sad. It reminded me of the saying, you guys, and I'm not very emotional. You guys know that I'm tough. But it reminded me, saying, it says, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. And that reminds me of you guys. It really does. So that's an overhaul of our seniors. We're going to go one by one. It might be, it's not, it looks lengthy, it might not be that lengthy. We're going to go numerical. So, our first senior is number 1, Corey Owen. I got a couple pages, Corey, stay with me. Corey, 4-year starter, 4-year letterman, team captain. He's the first freshman I ever brought up. He was the only one. When he was a freshman, he's the only freshman I brought up. So, he's been with me a long time. He has multiple Division I offers. He's an exceptional player, exceptional athlete, which we know. I can't say enough about him as a player and an athlete. He knows that. Again, I've been with him so long. I don't know what he's going to do without me in college. And I say that in joking, but I don't know who's going to be the more lost, me or him, which is another joke. It takes a while. When you're a 4-year starter quarterback, it takes a while to rebound out of that. And someone forwarded, I don't tweet, someone forwarded me a text not too long ago. I'll tell you what it said. I'm almost 100% sure Coach Pitt controls the weather. Did you tweet that? Yeah. I think I like it. I'm not sure. I don't know where it came from, but I like it. Believe me, Corey. I've met with his parents so many times about recruiting, and he's almost like a nephew to me sometimes. I'm sure he's probably sick of back and forth by now, because Corey, not many people know the behind the scenes of what goes on when someone gets recruited. And we had colleges, 4 coming at 5 coming at a time. Certain days, 2 were coming, go back to class, come out for another one, and after school we're going to have to go throw for 2 more colleges. It's just something that happens. You guys will be there as well. We had a lot of back and forth all the way down to, is this true, Corey? Me telling you to do push-ups in the hallway before you get down to the college coach, so you look a little bit bigger. They did happen. He did. I think he did it too. So, he was super busy. I like telling non-season stories. He was super busy during the recruiting season. I told you sometimes there was 4, 5, 6 colleges there. My right, Coach Walker, he intercepted the door. We had Boston College coming to one door, and Pitt waiting, and another school, Penn State, waiting down in the streets. I'll be there in 10 minutes. That's just the way it is. He was all constantly getting pulled in and out of class, which I know wasn't easy for him. I'm sure a lot of people don't know in the off season. Boston College kept changing scenarios and pulling in different directions. We want you to come. Can you come up? Or they came down 6 times, so we're not sure why they needed him up there. But we met. His parents met. We finally gave in. But people don't know the true story. Corey got on a plane, flew up to Boston by himself. They picked him up at the airport, brought him to Boston College. Now, I think they might have thrown a sandwich out in the back seat. I'm not sure. They had a 900-man camp going on. They pulled him on a side field, worked him out by himself for an hour or so, whisked him back to the airport, and sent him back home. That was all in a couple of hours, right? That's something that a lot of people don't see that went on. He's very mature to be able to handle something like that. Much of the same happened with James Madison, who was offered him a scholarship. They kept changing the itinerary, and unfortunately, his parents were out of the country, had to be out of the country. So, Corey jumped in his car. He drove down to James Madison by himself. I'm not sure, where'd you tell me you ate at?
Sheets.
Yeah, Sheets. He ate at Sheets. So all the way to James Madison, ate at Sheets, went and worked out on his own, jumped back in the car, drove home, and came to youth camp that morning, helped us in the youth camp the next day. And again, those are things that you don't see. He put a ton of work in. He was successful. He'll be very successful in the future for all the things he's done and overcome. Needless to say, I'm going to miss Corey as a player and as a person. Number 1, Corey Owen. Next senior, number 3, Connor Freed. Connor is a 2-year starter for us. He's a 2-sport athlete. He's an excellent basketball player. He made some huge catches for us this year, wide receiver. One at the end of the Baldwin game to allow us to tie up the game. He made others along, his journey, his career. Like I said, he's also an excellent basketball player. I think that may be his true love. I'm not sure. I think it is, but me and Connor had a conversation back in March, about him being a college basketball player, which I think he can be. I'm not so sure he thinks he can be, but I think he can be because he has the body, he has the attitude, and I think he has the skill level for it. His confidence was a little bit low at that time. I think now, though, after having a good football season, being with his brothers, I think now his confidence is sky high going into the basketball season. I saw it as the year progressed. I saw his confidence level raising, which is something I look for and something I'm glad that happens. That's why we're here. It's a game. We're here to grow as people. And, Connor definitely grew as the season went on, as the year went on. His maturity level was high. I'll be honest with you, I think he made, we all know, I think he was wavering a little bit about playing this year because, he was torn with basketball and working out, which, was understandable. But, again, I know all his teammates wanted him to play. They kept asking, hey, I talked to Connor, I talked to him. Did you talk to him? They wanted to play, I wanted to play. It worked out for the best for everybody. I'll never forget the Pine Richland game where at one point I saw him standing there and he was sad it was over. In another picture I see him smiling and he was glad he came back. It's just stories. Each person, each player has their own story and their own journey. And everyone's is different. So, again, I know Connor, he's sad it's over. He's glad he came back. We're glad he came back. I'm definitely glad he came back. I'm really going to miss him as a person, as an athlete, and as a guy who I know, has goals that he is going to meet. Number 3, Connor Freed. Good riddance, he's taller than I am. So is Scoop. And countless others. Number 6, Tim Crane. A lot of Tim Crane stories. Tim is an excellent team-first guy. And that's a lesson to be learned for young guys. Tim will do anything for the team. Game, practice, off-season, weight room, I don't care when it was, Tim's there. I appreciate a player like that, as all the coaches and players do. I've been calling Tim Ichabod Crane now for years, as the players know. He's sort of taken on that identity. He tells me the other players call him Ichabod in school, and no one knows what they're talking about, which is good. He even signs the weight room as Ichabod. I'm telling you, he has an identity. I don't know if it's all good, but he signs his name Ichabod Crane now. Last year at practice, I know we had a competition to who could bring the most information about Ichabod Crane. Another fun thing we do. We don't always just run and lift weights. And this is like for Mrs. Paddock. This is like an educational field trip we did. Connor Pope from last year, Diesel, he brought in like these printouts and pictures, and he had all kind of stuff. So we actually had to stop practice and stop conditioning so Connor could present his Ichabod Crane study. I don't know if he does that well in school, but he did well there. We stopped conditioning. Connor, Pope won the prize. You remember this? He got to lay on the field where everybody else ran, and the boo took pictures. Remember that, boo? I'm sure you do. It's just, it's one of those things that you probably wouldn't believe if you pulled up and saw practice. You were picking up your son, and there's a big 300-pound red Diesel laying on the field. Boo's taking snapshots. He's holding Ichabod Crane printout out. So, it's not exactly best plays we ever drawn up, but it was fun. You know, it's something that goes on and not a lot of people see. It was interesting, it was fun. You know, 2 more quick ones about Tim. He came to my office not too long ago, and he said, "Coach, can I miss Saturday to go visit the college?" Was it Shippensburg? I said, "Sure, Tim." He goes, "Oh my God, I thought it was gonna be tougher than that." I said, "Tim, I got that. He's jumping around like he won the lottery. I think I was that bad." So, I don't know, maybe I am. And he did come to, he'll remember this, he came to the office a few weeks ago. This is how he leads this off to me, because it happens weekly, sometimes bi-weekly. "Coach, probably won't come to surprise you, but I need another mouthpiece." It was every week. I mean, how many, like 10, 15? I'm not sure what he's doing with them. He may be eating, maybe selling them. I'm not sure, but he needed them. You know, just things there I'll remember him. It's not all catches and blocks and runs and touchdowns. It's not. You know, I love the personal stories about the players. You know, we truly miss your excitement and your emotion that I see. I saw in practice. I saw at those games. You know, you're very emotional, and you know, you're very, very into the game. You know, and the character you brought us, we're truly going to miss. Number 6, Tim Crane. Number 7, Tim Swope. I'll call you Swope, although I never do. So we'll call you Swope for your parents are. Tim is a 2-year starter for us. He plays everywhere. Quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, special teams, holder, outside linebacker, sometimes assistant coach, I think. Team captain. You know, he's done it all. You know, one thing that just jumps out at me and always has is Tim is a class act. You know, I remember last year, I'm not sure he remembers, turning Tim in the middle of a game when he was a junior and just saying, "You know what, Tim, you're a good guy." You know, I'm not sure what the circumstance was. I just believe it was he wanted to, he would play anywhere. If I needed him, he's in. If someone else needed something as a teammate, they got it. You know, that's just the way he is. You know, he didn't care where he played, he just wanted to help the team. And that's another lesson that, you know, all players, all levels can and should learn. You know, he's always happy. He gives a great effort. You know, he's always smiling, except when we were practicing, when our music was playing, we were practicing, and I said, "Team defense," and Boys Fall came on. He said, "Coach, you can't play this right now. I'm going to break down and start crying." So, sorry, sir. I told you I wouldn't tell you that, but I told him. But, you know, his attitude and effort is great. You know, and again, he's classy. He epitomizes what high school sports is about. You know, not just football, what high school students, kids, football, basketball, I don't care what the sport is. You know, he teaches a lot of great lessons to his teammates. He should. You know, if you can't learn something from him, you're not paying attention. You know, believe me, his parents should be proud. I can name multiple occasions when he came with suggestions that would help others, you know, other teammates. "Coach, you know, you forgot this, you forgot him, you forgot to put him in, he hasn't been in." You know, whether the score we were up or down, you know, it's just in his, you know, it's in his nature to care about other people. You know, one thing I've written about Tim is you know, he truly cares more about others' happiness than his own, which I think is true. And, you know, that's a great person. You know, I'm glad to have known him, you know, and I'm honored to have coached him. You know, he brings all those attributes that just a good person has. You know, I can talk about football. I can talk about him leading our conference in receptions. I think he was a quad A leader in receptions. I can talk about basketball, baseball, free-sport athlete. We're going to miss your class, Tim, and your thoughtfulness. Number 7, Tim Swope. I think they're all taller than me. Who's next? So I guess you think I appreciate it. Next senior, number 9, Ethan Anderson. This year is a 2-year starter, team captain, member of the National Honor Society. Ethan is one of the smartest coaches, he should be a coach. He's one of the smartest players I've ever coached. You know, that's over 24 years. You know, he has a nickname, you know, the coaches call him, you know, 5-0, you know, for his 5.0 ridiculous grade point average. But, you know, he made mistakes. Coach Valsea would call him 4.98, 4.97. I'm not sure if you like that or not. Ethan, when we do our Thursday, I call the teams out according to like a real game, like kickoff, defense, punt return, offense, like the game is going on. You know, we've always done that, Coach. I've listened to Coach Valsea for years, we've done that. And I'm not sure anyone knows that's how it's going on. So one day, I'm calling him out, and I'm not sure the exact words, but some, this is very calculated, Coach. You know what he said? He's very, very intelligent. You know, I have some funny stories about him last year. I'm not sure if he remembers. Last year, he went to the nurses to get measured. You remember this? And she told me he was like 6'8", or something. I'm not sure. She had the inches wrong. Remember telling me that? She had the inches wrong. She told me he's like 6'8". So I'm not sure if she knew he was wrong, but you know, he was happy to have it. We knew he was really thin, but not that much. You know, he did go from about 6'1" to 6'4" overnight, which I'm sure a lot of you guys will do as well. And that's an example I always use about people growing at that age. You know, he was not that tall last year. You know, but, you know, on a more serious note, Ethan's another one. He's not like all our guys. He's a top-notch person. You know, I tell everybody, and you guys know this, you know, I tell everybody he's sort of like our moral compass. You know, I've told the younger guys, before you do anything, think about what would Ethan do. Red, I'm not saying I'm looking right at you. And Monday I see you back there, I know you're here. But, you know, that's just kind of person he is. You know, he's a nice person. He's a good person. He is our moral compass. We all know that. But when he dropped an interception to Ken Mack, I can't be sure. He may have sworn. I can't confirm anything, just a hunch. I'm going to check with some of the guys on the field with you. But I think you did. But, you know, we're going to miss you as a leader, as a person, you know, just an overall leader for the team for years. Number 9, Ethan Anderson. All right, finally, someone's not taller than me. Number 11, Nick Kirsch. Nick is a 3-year starter, team captain, National Honor Society. You know, the one thing about stand-up, I'll take a look at him. I'll sit back there. One thing about Nick, he can dress. My man can dress. We have daily conversations, parents, daily conversations about how he matches and what he has on. Now, I know for a fact, no, I don't know for a fact. I'm guessing, I'm pretty sure, that Mandy picks out your outfits and tells you what to wear. Now, that may be true, but regardless, he can dress, the guy can dress. You know, even though just recently, he started talking about more than 3 years, he was on 3-year starter, he talked much to me. On a serious note, as a sophomore, Nick was a guy, like some of you guys are now. Nick was a guy we could put anywhere, any position. I could throw him in there, and I could trust for him to do the job. Now, I know we still talk about Shaler game when he almost intercepted that pass. You know, I remember things that guys have done. You know, but offense, defense, special teams, doesn't matter. So punt, kick return, cornerback, receiver. You know, he has different roles. You know, younger guys, you should look up to someone like that for all the different hats he wears on the field. Don't be afraid to do different things. You know, it's not necessarily I'm a receiver or I'm a running back. You know, whatever you need to be done, do it. And that's where Nick he jumped in. You know, he's always very conscientious. And I think sometimes a little nervous because he wanted to do the right thing. You know, which makes him, you know, he's a captain, but makes him one of our quiet leaders, which what he really is. You know, a lot of people don't know, and I've seen him many times helping young wide receivers and the young defensive backs when no one else was paying attention. You know, that's the kind of guys we have. That's the kind of guys we strive to have. You know, that's the, again, with all these guys, I can talk football, and and track and all these other sports, but that's the kind of legacy you want to leave behind as a senior football player and as a person. And Nick has left that. He's always helping others. Whether it's football or in stretching lines. I don't know if it goes on other schools, but he's going through stretching lines, telling people to help him in chemistry. We all help in chemistry, I'll help you in math, whatever you need. We have guys like that. Nick's one of those guys. I notice everything, Nick. I appreciate everything. I appreciate your caring attitude. We'll truly miss you and your compassion and that attitude. Number 11, Nick Kirsch. He said, "Don't miss me." You guys can hear it. Number 23, Dylan Thompson. Dylan is another one of our consummate team players. Dylan came out this year for the first year, a couple years off. He came back. We're glad he came back. Dylan is another guy. He's an excellent team guy. And again, you need team guys. I don't care if you're the best player, the average player, great player, not so good player, from 1 to 69, everyone's equal in my mind. And a guy like Dylan, we need guys to fill those roles. He would jump in on the scout team and kick return, he's in. And on kickoff, he's in. It didn't matter what we needed, he was there. Never complained, never said a word. As you can see, he doesn't say much. He really doesn't say much. He's very down to earth. We're glad he came back. He fills a role that every team needs, and we're glad we have him. We're a better team for it. He's truly an unselfish player. Again, he has equal importance. We all do. All 70 and all 10 coaches have equal importance as everybody else. A good story about Dylan, I've never seen anything like this. We signed in a weight room every day. How you know? He signs his name. I don't know, there's probably a calling for this summer. He signs his name so small, you need a magnifying glass to read it. It's unbelievable. Am I lying? You got great penmanship, don't get me wrong. It's just a little hard to see. But seriously, we appreciate your effort, Dylan, your effort. We're glad you came back. We're going to miss you. Guys, take lessons from guys like Dylan. He's a true leader. Guys lead in different ways. Dylan is one of our leaders. We're going to miss you. Number 23, Dylan Thompson. That's all I answer. There's a good one. Number 28, Jake Scott. Jake is a 2.5, 3-year starter for us. Team captain. He broke the single season tackle record this year, which not a lot of people know. He broke it by a significant amount in one less game than what the leader had. That's very, very impressive. He had 21 tackles against Upper St. Clair, I believe, which is a lot. Jake's one of the best defensive players I've ever coached in 24 years. That's saying a lot, because I've coached a lot of good players. He's one of the best, if not the best. He's always around the ball. He's phenomenal. He's a knack for the ball. He'd make tackles here. He'd make tackles 30 yards down the field. Didn't matter where. He was just always around the ball. Jake really improved going into senior year. He was good last year. I forget last year. He was our defensive MVP last year as a junior. And he improved this year much more than he was last year. I see his willingness to improve, because he would always come to me, ask me, what can I do, Coach? Well, how can I improve? Am I good enough to play in college? Am I good enough to play at the next level? Imagine a guy who I think is probably one of the best players in our conference, not thinking he can play in college, because he wants to be better than he is. He's never satisfied. What an attitude that is. When you're that good, and you're that humble, and you're not satisfied, that makes a great player. It's not his practice habits, the way he plays on the field are infectious. He runs around, he will hit you. The guys he hit in practice, we apologize for. But, it's just the way he practices, that's the way he plays. If you're not going to do that in practice, you're not going to do it in the game. You guys know what I'm talking about. And the coaches who yell at you guys know what I'm talking about. But, he's always flying around. He makes others around him better. He truly does on defense. Now, I can't say enough about his intensity and his desire on the field. Now, off the field, he's like this. He's very soft-spoken. He's very humble. When he goes between the lines, look out. He's a whole different person. I think his nephews have a little bit of the same attributes. A friend of mine, Jay, you don't know this, a friend of mine watched some of our game films. This person knows football. They said to me, and they said, every time the ball was snapped on defense, he looks like a caged animal was just set free. That's someone that doesn't know you from Adam. That says a lot about the way you play defense and the way you're supposed to play defense, younger guys. He even showed that intensity when he put him the tailback at Pine Ridge. Again, another guy doesn't care where he plays. If you put him in, he plays. Jake's a great player, a great person. I hit more football with him just because that's, it just hits me in the face of what kind of player he is. He's a great player. We're going to miss your intensity and everything you brought to the team. Number 28, Jake Scott. Number 29, my man, Abu Shatima. Now, everyone loves Abu. Am I right? Everybody loves Abu. Abu is just great for the team. He just, the team is good for Abu, but Abu is great for the team. He's just that kind of person. I remember last year, and Abu, I remember everything. It was after a JV game, and we had lost 28-7. And we're walking off the field, and I hear him, he gathers the JV team together, and he says, guys, we scored one on them. That proves they aren't that good, and we are getting better. That's his positive attitude he has. It's just a great lesson. He teaches great lessons, whether or not he knows it. He really teaches a lot of great lessons to these guys. And I have a lot of notes. I've been writing on Abu for years, and some of them are scribbled. It's just, he's come a long way as a 4-year guy. I remember the first time you stumbled on the field as a freshman, and I'll never forget the day to where you're at now. One day in March in the weight room, I was talking to the team about, getting ready for the season like I always do and be ready, and here's what you have to do. So when I finished, I walked away, and I noticed, I hear Abu, again, he has the team gathered together. And I hear him talk, and he's just re-emphasizing what I said. I'll never forget. He's like, Ryan, work out on your own. Don't wait till the season starts. Be ready when you get here in the summer. All things I emphasize and all things Abu wanted to reteach. It's just something that the skill he has, that's what he does. He makes other people around him better. And I think he always will. It's a guy that's been around the program for years, and I appreciate everything he does. He's learned a lot of lessons, I think, in 4 years, but most importantly, he's taught a lot of lessons. I know he's taught them to the players, and I know he's taught them being the coaches as well. It's just sometimes a guy comes around that does that. Whether he knows he's doing it or not, that's just what you get out of him. Like I said, the program benefited greatly for us having Abu with us. He benefited, I'm sure, but we benefited much more for having him. I'll never forget, I'll never forget the lessons he teaches. He's such a good kid. We're going to miss you, Abu. We'll miss the lessons you taught all of us. Number 29, Abu Shatima. There's a good one. I should do you two together. Two kickers. This is good. Number 49, Dakota Isowski. That's not man, Isowski. Dakota. One day, and I think it might have been shoe fame, one day Dakota just appeared. Okay, and all of a sudden he's around. He's on the team. He comes around, I see him, I have no idea who he is. I didn't know his name, I don't know who he was, I don't know his background. Players and coaches, they kept telling me, hey, he's from Woodland Hills. I said, listen, there's one person you better let know he's playing on a team, and that's me. He never did, he's still here. He still hasn't. I guess so, you didn't tell me you're on a team, though, did you? Dakota, our kicking coach is Brian Bautier. One day, and Brian comes over one day and says, who is this guy? I said, I don't know. He didn't tell me he's on the team. I don't know who he is. I see their checks, he's like 30 years old. He's eligible. I said, Mr. Geyer, he's eligible. He didn't know him either. Nobody knew him. He comes over, and Brian Bautier tells me, he said, Dakota came over to him. No one knows who he is. He strikes his pose and flexes his calves. He said, I'm going to kick her to you. I don't know. The rest is history, I guess. I've never heard anything like it. Keep in mind, like all kickers, our kickers do our own thing in practice. Those guys just go, I don't know what they do. I don't want to know what they do. I don't think I speak to them. I'm not sure they speak to me. I'm not sure they know who I am. So how would I know him? He doesn't know who I am. But they do their own thing in practice. So one good thing, I said, I don't have much contact with the kid. I do. I did when I was young. I have contact. So this goes on. I actually threw them both tandemly out of practice one time too. So this goes on for a full year. Yeah, how you doing, coach? Whatever, okay, to go see it. So I walk into Pine Richland game immediately after the game. There's kids crying on the field. We lost. Season's over. So I walk in. I'm not sure because one of the coaches said, you better write that one down. Everyone's sad. They're hugging each other. I walk in the locker room. First smile I ever saw on his face. He's sitting there smiling. He's coach. Admit it. We grew on you a little bit. It's the first thing I see when I come in the game. Referring to him and Nick, his partner in crime over there. So I'll get to you, don't worry. So I'm not sure. It was maybe the first words you ever said to me. But, Dakota, he showed up, he stayed, he didn't go anywhere. We're glad he did. Number 49, Dakota. Here's a long one. Here's 3 pages. Number 61, Christian Phelps. Three-year starter, team captain, overall face of the program. If you know Christian, he's always happy. He's always helping. He always wants to do something. He always wants to make sure everything's all right. Christian is an excellent player. Now, young guys, take notice. Very important. He's an excellent player. But regardless, wherever you went on vacation, he brought me a gift back. Remember? Take note of that, young guys. Am I right, Christian? I still use that back scratching bomb last year. Hey, God brings me stuff. You guys write that down? He was also, for a long time, the weight room DJ, where again I picked the songs, for the most part. Some of the songs he would pick. We went from country, and then all of a sudden he's playing Beastie Boys one day over and over. And I said, what are you doing here? He said, I got votes to play this, coach. I said, let me tell you something, Christian. I got to remind you, there's only one vote that counts. Get it off. No, we left it on. We left it on. He earned early on, I don't know if you young guys remember this, and we kind of stopped it because, we some of the other things going on. He earned a nickname. We called him the mayor. Early on in the winter, we were calling him the mayor because he's always talking to everybody, helping everybody, enthusiastic, which is great. One day, the players come down, and they tell me Christian's going to be a little bit late. I don't know where he's at. They're telling me he's taking his driver's test. So, I said to somebody, I wonder how he did. They said, oh, he passed, coach. I said, you just told me he's just taking it. And he said, yeah, but it's all over Twitter, he passed. I said, Christian, he got here that day. I asked him a question. I said, I heard it's all over Twitter, you passed your driver's test. Remember this? He said, yeah, it's all over, Coach. Here's my response to him. Who really cares, you passionate about these kids? It's all over Twitter. But, you know, his answer was a classic one. Believe me, he fired back. He said, Coach, as a mayor, I'm a man of the people, and I had to let all my constituents know. That's what I got to deal with every day. You wonder why you send them to school every day. So that's, that's Christian in a nutshell. These stories are awesome. I love these stories. More serious note about Christian. He's fun and funny. But after the Woodland Hills game, first game of the year, I was sitting in my office like 10 o'clock, probably holding my head. The referees came in on their way out the door. And they said, Coach, I just want to let you know, number 61 was a perfect gentleman on the field as a captain. And that's always nice to hear, about our guys, compliments about our guys. So, it's a lot of things going to be a good person and a good player. He's an excellent player, 3-year starter, played everywhere, defensive tackle, and guard, center, tackle on offense. Whatever we needed, he did. He had a lot of roles which he filled well. Christian, again, is another one of our good guys. We're going to miss, Christian, your leadership and your constant great attitude. Number 61, Christian Fellow. Keeps getting better as he has. Number 64, Mike Fortunato. Mike came back strong this year with a bad shoulder injury he had last year that forced him to miss all season. He's an excellent weight room guy, another guy that will do anything for the team. He played defense, offense, wherever we need him, he was in. He's always, and always has been a yes sir, no sir guy when you ask him any question. You see how well he did with the invocation. He's soft-spoken, but he's quite intelligent. And I watched him interact with some college coaches this year, and that's the way he speaks. He's very outgoing. He may seem a little reserved, but he has everything. He knows what he wants to say. He's very calculated with it, and he's very mature. That says a lot about his character, the way he acts. And that's what we want first and foremost, is character guys. Again, Mike was an excellent player for us. We can talk on the field stuff with all these guys. I have a great story about Mike. I was talking in the weight room one day in February. He may or may not remember this. Steve mentioned that I spoke at the Nike Coach of the Year clinic in February. So I was going to speak there. I think the following week, I was talking to Coach Nab, because Coach Nab was helping me with the PowerPoint, which is another thing I'm great at. And I was telling JJ, I said, look, I've written so much. And it was just one thing. It was about developing an offense, right? It was about offense. And I wrote like 50 pages of notes. I think I got a note problem. But I was writing. I said to Coach Nab, another coach here, Coach Falsey was helping me, and we're doing diagrams. And I said, I've written so much, I might just continue and make it a book. I might do that. So Christian, where he's at, and Forge were standing in the weight room. So I said to Christian, Christian, if I write a book, would you buy it? He said, sure I would, Coach. I said, great, so I'll have one sale. So I turned to Mike. You're going to love this one. I asked him the same question. I said, Mike, if I write a book, would you buy it? He said, Coach, not only would I buy it, I would even read it. Thanks, Mike. I think it was a compliment. I'm not sure. It may be a compliment, it may not be. Again, we're going to miss you, Mike. Your overall great attitude. All these guys are intelligent, witty, which makes coming to practice a lot funner than if it was just, mundane and boring. We're going to miss you, number 64, Mike Fortunato. Kicker, you're last. Number 88, Nick Gotti. Nick is another one of our seniors that came out for his senior season. I call Nick and Dakota, I call them the same name. Nick and Dakota is probably the only time I've ever said Nick and Dakota, right?
Right.
What do I call you?
Kicker.
Right. I call them kicker. They both answer it. I don't care if we're together, separate, single employer, kickers go do something. So, they knew. I called it, they were rarely apart, first of all, so it was easy. If I said kicker, we need this, kicker, we need that, go do it, they did. Nick was a guy, in practice, I make fun of it, they put a lot of time in practice. They were always down the other end of the field, Reagan and these two guys, kicking, punting, working on their skill. He greatly improved as the year went on, because that's what happens when, that's what you do. You just constantly put your effort into it, which he did. And it's an excellent story that, he progressed the way he did. But a good story about the kicker. So we're going to play up for St. Clair. Coach Walter, my line, they lose the kicking team. Now imagine the kickers losing the kicking team. They did it. I know they remember this, because they were looking everywhere. Everywhere, they're turning bags over, they're driving around, they're looking, they're asking people. They're stuck in my office, they're trying to steal a new one, tell me it was the old one. Again, that's what I gotta deal with every day. So I told them, you better find it, or you better come back with a new one. Did I tell you that? I know I did, believe me. So, not too long after that, he comes up and he says, Coach, I leave practice early. For what? He said, I'm going to go over to Century Sports and buy a new tee. So I told him I was just kidding. That's dedication, man. That's a lot of dedication. I'm not sure he knew how to take me, saying you better find this, because he was a new guy. But we're glad you came out for the team. You did a lot. You and Dakota did great things for us. We appreciate it. It's not easy doing those roles. It's not like I talked about Nick Ray last year. Nobody really notices the kicker or the punter until you screw something up. If you would miss that field goal ball one, they'd all know your name. I would be calling you kicker, I guarantee you that. But he made it. So that's just that's the life of a kicker. That's what they do. Kickers and punters, if you screw up, everybody knows you. If you do your job, you were supposed to. So, Nick, we're going to miss you. We're glad you came out for the team. Number 88, Nick Gotti.